How's it going, everybody? Wanted to put together what I hope to be a quick video regarding some of the stuff that's been going on lately. Yeah, all good. Nothing bad. So first things first, those of you that are looking at Patreon access, I am running into a problem right now, and I've got a support ticket open with Patreon. Apparently, any of you that have interest in getting the all access pass for $25 a month to gain access to the workbook, videos, coaching sessions, the initial configurations, topology stuff, all that stuff, I want to have available for a really low monthly price, and for whatever reason, it's not working. I actually went through and purchased access myself to see what you guys see, and it gave me the same problem. So I do have a ticket open with Patreon, but at the same point in time, I'm also reconsidering having the website idea, where I would have a website you guys could go to instead of going directly to Patreon. Now that I'm having these issues, I'm reconsidering my options there. I really want the website, to be honest with you, and that would give me more flexibility than Patreon, because then I'd be able to be more flexible in how I do things. Plus, I would be able to take the workbook idea that I have, and instead of having to update the workbook itself, give it a different revision number, post that, and have you guys all re-download it, I'm looking at more of a web page based workbook, where I would take the existing workbook and I would convert it into web pages over the course of time, and you guys would be able to view that and hopefully be a benefit of you. So if there was any adjustments to a topic, or if I wanted to add topics, it'd be relatively easy to do so. That's another idea that I'm working on. So that's a work in progress. So as soon as I get further along with that, that is the goal. I don't have any solutions right at the moment for the Patreon thing. As soon as I get Patreon to get back to me as to what the issue is, maybe I'm missing something, maybe I clicked the wrong button, I don't know, but there's issues there. So regarding the topology that I am in the process of building out right now, since I passed the CCDE written exam at Cisco Live and I recertified my IE, one of the things that I've been doing lately is I've been spending a portion of time going through the core technologies list on the CCDE V3.1 practical exam. So that's what I am currently preparing for right now. So my goal is to take that exam sometime in first quarter after mid-February of next year. So that's my plan. So because of the fact that, and I'll bring this over just so you guys have a visual, there's a lot of content on this, and I want to bring this over just so you guys can see it. And I'll bring over the large scale networking. Oh, that's CCE, this one, right? Yeah, right here. So, excuse me. So for those of you that are interested in studying for your CCDE, this essentially is the core technologies list that you would have to go through in order for you to prepare for the DE written or the DE practical. This is version 3.1, so this particular list is mostly the same as V3.0, slightly different, but I am currently working my way through the wireless section, so I'm going through wireless technologies right now and understanding how access points work and all that stuff that goes along with them. So I'm taking some basically CCIE training on that and going from there. So there's a lot of material in here to go over, and it's one of those things where as I've reviewed the individual sections, there's a lot of overlap in other topic areas. So how far would I have to take it? I don't know yet. So the DE practical is 4 2-hour scenarios, so basically you're 8 hours. 3 of those are chosen for you based off the core technologies list, and then there's one section that is added, one scenario that you get to pick which topic area you want to focus on. So I've chosen large scale networking because of the service provider background that I've got. So I've decided that that's the direction I'm going to go with it. Now, those are the technology lists that I'm going to be studying. There's 3 additional ones besides large scale networking: workforce mobility, on-prem and cloud data center, and then AI infrastructure. So my plan, as it sits right now, actually I'll bring right here. This is what I'm referring to. So you have these other technology areas that you could be areas of expertise. So I'm focusing on this one, but there's on-prem and cloud services, workforce mobility, and then AI infrastructure. So my plan is to go through, and as I was thinking about this the other day, I forget exactly what I was doing, but as I was, whatever it is that I was doing, I was thinking about this. I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to have a way to do this as more of a real world networking kind of thing and do CCDE at the same time. So I'm kind of working through this topology. It's a work in progress. I've kind of got a group together, and what I'm planning on doing is taking the security capabilities and then taking the service provider, wireless, data center. Because if you look at the core technologies list, there's a lot of technologies in here that you have to understand. When we get up here to overlay encapsulation, there's VXLAN, Lisp, and multi-protocol BGP, things like that, RSVP. So there's a lot of service providers still there. Your routing, and you get layer 2 in here as well. So there's a lot of stuff to go over. So as I was thinking about this, what makes sense to me is to build this out as kind of one big topology where there's a bunch of all the major topic areas on the DE are here in this topology, and it would be a implement it as we go. So we fully go through the DE topic list, then there will be material for you guys to go reference, and I'm looking at that as a holistic approach. So we'd be able to dive into the technology, we'd be able to dive into how to get it working, we'd have to be able to get it, look at the design, what are the implications. And the way that I'm looking at it is, you can't design something if you don't understand how it works. That's my methodology. That's my mentality when you look at things like that. So in that respect, that's one of the things that I'm like, well, you still got to know how this stuff works at the end of the day. So if you don't know how this stuff works, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to design anything around it. So there might be some specific nuance that, in the practical that they throw at you, stuff like that. So what I'm working on is coming up with a large topology that I'd be able to have broken into sections where we would build out, and my intention is to keep this thing super small, to the point where it is manageable to test all the different topic areas on the blueprint in one topology. I don't know how I'm going to pull that off yet. Like I said, it's a work in progress, but it's one of those things where I'm patiently working my way through it. So as you can see, I've got stuff laid out here, but when we get into things like Flex VPN and Get VPN, so my thought process is maybe to build out a small service provider that we'd be able to do MPLS layer 2 and layer 3 VPN, and then we'd be able to leverage that underlay transport and then have an internet-based transport to test both internet-based and MPLS-based VPNs, whether they're IPsec or you're doing it over MPLS. And another thing that's on here in the core, if you hadn't noticed it, is a big chunk of SD-WAN. And when I was at Cisco Live, I talked to a couple folks there that clued me in on something, which was this right here. I've got this stuff open over here because it's relevant. If you look at SD-WAN, Cisco SD-WAN, vManage, vBond, vSmart, C-Edge 20.9. When I was talking to this person, they basically told me, yeah, they're not going to test you on the V-Edge. They're going to test you on the C-Edge. I was like, oh, okay. So In this topology, I would also want to have at least a couple of C edges in here to test out the capability. I need to see what's possible. So I did go out and get CML 2.7. I've got that downloaded. It's a matter of pulling in the right hardware to test that out, what the capabilities are, things like that. So this is a work in progress. So hopefully at some point in the future, I will have a topology to show you guys. And down here at the bottom, I do have a two-site VXLAN fabric that I'm going to be building out, walk you guys through how VXLAN works in that respect. So there might be an aspect of layer 2 BPM where we do like a point-to-point and then like a point-to-multipoint or a any-to-any, like an ELAN type of design, like VPLS type of thing. Or VPWS, Virtual Private Wire Service. You know, they basically ELAN, VPWS, and VPLS and EULAN. They basically mean the same thing. So it's how you carve it up is what really makes the difference. So I'm looking at something like that. I have a general idea of how I would attack that, but again, it's a work in progress. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to talk briefly about the Encore and ENARSI, since I want to bring that up. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is I rebuilt the Encore and ENARSI topology. I'm giving you guys a high-level view of this because it's still, again, a work in progress. I'm rebuilding it because of the fact that it is something that I've been talking about doing now for a while. I really need to get it done. So that is what I'm going to be focusing my time and effort on. I've got this configured, I have this configured, I have the bulk of this configured. Even though there's no nomenclature on there yet, there will be, and I will talk about how that will come into play. I might have to manipulate the topology a little bit to make it make sense to some folks. And I do realize that there's quite a few of you that are going to be coming from the CCNA level, and you're going to be working your way into Encore and ENARSI, and that's where this workbook is really going to come into play, is for you folks that don't have the technical depth yet, that can't see things the way that I see them. And so I will be putting a lot of information in the topology, not so much in the respect of an eye chart to where it's just like too much information you're having to like look around, there's always something new to see, but more like this is what you would expect to see here. Like, for example, access, trunk, and then /30 connection here, or /24, or whatever I decide to do it. That's kind of the direction I want to go with this. And right now I have, 30, yeah, so all the devices right now, I think there's 38. I have them inside of Secure CRT tabbed out, as you can see, and every device in here minus the PCs. The PCs will be more for us doing demos and things like that, for DHCP and things like that. So that's where that comes into play. So until I come up with a more like I said, I'm still in the process of building out the config. So I have a game plan in my head and kind of a loose flow of what I'm trying to accomplish here. Once that's completely done and this is fully built out, I will put that into a text in a workbook, build it out so that you guys can follow along at home, and then there will be a short video series that goes along with that, so that material can be viewed by you guys. There will be now that I'm thinking about it, and I had actually a lot of time to think about it, I'm probably only going to do a video series solution-wise for the troubleshooting section. And the reason why is because unless you guys are like, hey, I want to have it for both, my primary focus once the workbook is done for Encore and ENARSI and get that done is the troubleshooting piece, because that seems to be the number one thing that folks tend to struggle with is troubleshooting networking. So that would be my goal, is to have 20, 30 tickets that I've written in here. You would basically copy and paste in the faults into the devices, and then you'd have to troubleshoot them as you're going along. I know people are going to look at them and be like, oh, I see what the problem is. I don't have a real good way of getting the lab to you unless I was to like host it somewhere and then give you access some way and then have you guys log in and take a look at it without knowing what the problem is. I can only do so much troubleshooting without you guys knowing the answer ahead of time. It's more like, okay, here's the issue, now go dig into it. And it's not meant for you to be able to be super fast with troubleshooting. It's more, how do I build a methodology about the top down, bottom up, divide and conquer type of troubleshooting methodology to attack a problem. Where do you start? Do you ping the device? Oh, it doesn't respond. Then you got to go figure out why it's not working, so on and so forth, things like that. So that's my goal, is to go into things like that, and hopefully that will make sense. So that is the goal there. While I'm working on that, I am also, and this is like, I spend one day on this, I spend another day on recording the Enterprise Video Series Solutions, which is what a lot of people are trying to gain access to on Patreon, and that currently isn't working. Like I said, I am working currently on, I've got support open for that. Hopefully I'll get a response from them here soon, and they can be like, oh, this is where you screwed up, do this instead, boom, problem solved itself. But I'm also working on doing the lightweight website development so that I can get you guys access to what you guys have paid for. So that's my goal here right now. Hopefully that'll be able to figure itself out sooner than later. I really would prefer to have a website overall. Then it's just like, you guys go here, and the website would just be one price. You would pay $25 a month and to get access to all the content, and the Patreon eventually would fade away. And you guys would come over to the website, buy access to everything, and go that route. That's where the direction I really want to go, and so that's going to be probably where I put my time and effort into, is building that. A Patreon doesn't really take a whole lot of effort. It's more or less just mapping stuff to things, and right now for some reason stuff isn't working. I don't know why. So with that being said, if you guys have anything, feedback, and I know there's going to be a comment here soon when it comes to like the real world networking piece that people have brought up. For some reason, quite a few people have brought up two different areas. They really, really want to see /30 subnet masks between devices. So if I go anywhere with this real world for CCDE preparation, then yes, it will be real world down to /30s and things like that. We would get down to, you've got a BGP peering with the service provider that you wanted to set up, and so between you and the service provider, that's a /30, but then you also got, because you want BGP, you also got a /29 from the provider. So then behind your router, there would be a /29 address block. And we'll talk about that design and how that would come into play. And then you would have devices, you'd be able to route to that and put a firewall in front of it, and then you'd be able to provide NAT access and things like that. I would like to throw a couple of Palo Alto firewalls in here just so you guys get to see a different platform and see exactly how that would work. I don't know if I'm going to do that initially because the CCDE is focused on technically Cisco, but they don't specifically, when you look at the core technology list for that and you look at security, just about every, especially perimeter, all firewalls do this stuff. It's not unique to Cisco, whether it's ASA or FTD or whatever they call it, FTD nowadays. So these are some things to think about, whether you're dealing with Fortinet, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Sophos, or SonicWall, or pfSense, or WatchGuard. I'm like literally trying to think of all the different firewall platforms that I've heard about. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for that. So my goal would be to build in a little bit of that to make it vendor neutral to a certain extent, but we'll see exactly how that plays out. So for right now, my development of this is going to be ongoing, but as time progresses, I have a game plan of this will be pretty straightforward to get working. Once I get it there, it's just a matter of figuring out the kinks and what's going to actually be necessary in order to get this to work. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. Like I said, I do plan on deploying SD-WAN in here. There's going to be firewall, service provider, routing and switching. So it's going to be probably a build off of each other type of deal where we focus on, and I'm even thinking like having just a regular deployment thing where we say, okay, let's just get things reachable first. So we build out, IGPs, basic connectivity. Then we dive into BGP for the overlay for the internet routing, and then we start focusing on more advanced services. We dive into, maybe not even advanced. Maybe advanced is the wrong term, but once we get infrastructure reachability in place, then we start adding in more and more stuff and make it like a real design from a service provider, data center, security, routing and switching, wireless, data center, all that type of stuff that comes into play with it. I don't know how much wireless I'm actually going to be able to do in this, but I do have an autonomous AP in the basement hooked up. Just a matter of me getting time to learn how to configure them. And then I also have a 2504 wireless controller that I plan on using to demo a couple of 3702 access points and test that capability out, so they enter at least basic connectivity initially. So how that's going to work out yet, I don't know, but I am looking forward to that process, because that to me that's cool stuff. I mean, to me, that's where I think it gets really, really cool. So maybe that's the direction I go with this. Is that I don't know yet. I like I said, it actually helps me to talk about it out loud, because then I'm like, oh, that's actually not a bad idea. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. If you guys have any ideas that you would like to see, I do have F5 licenses now as well, so maybe it's time for me to get F5 in here, and we can talk about load balancing as well, because it's not specifically called out here or in the core technologies list. I don't think so. I don't think. Load. Yeah, nothing here. I think it's over here in the on-prem and cloud services. I think it's over here. I think it's load balancing is over here. Yeah, load balancing. So because it's in the data center and there's OTV as well, which I could demo OTV. It's only not that much to cover. There's ACI, but I obviously won't be able to do ACI. So, load balancer. So maybe we even do that. We could talk a little bit about how that comes into play. My goal is to eventually have this stuff brought in, where all the technology areas of expertise I cover, but that'll be over the course of time. So now the more and more I think about it and the more and more I talk about it, the staged approach where you build infrastructure reachability, or we'll figure out some sort of title for that, where we go through and we do basic IGP connectivity, basic BGP connectivity. We just worry about getting devices to be able to talk to each other. And then we can get down into the weeds of, okay, we have the scenario where customer A wants to do this, and they want a site-to-site VPN stood up. So now they get a firewall, and now they want to go do this. So the more and more I think about it, the more and more I like that idea. So it's a staged approach where we go from, having nothing at all to a fully built out, multiple locations, data center, service provider, wireless, security, you name it, we dive into it. So let me know what you guys think down below. And my goal is to eventually put this onto the website. That I'm going to be working on that loosely over time, and probably spend a couple of hours and then get all the content that the All Access Pass users have paid for, be able to get that map so you guys can start watching the videos, because I am actively working on recording the Cisco Enterprise workbook video solutions. So there's a technical deep dive, and then I go into the config and we walk through how to get it up and running. So I'm planning on doing a video series for the workbook, and that'll be All Access Pass. So, and now that I'm thinking about it, anybody that's bought the workbook probably should get access to it too. So, we'll see about that. I have to test some things out, but anyway, I have some things to figure out and think about. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Your input is definitely helpful. So we'll go from there. Until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll catch all of you in the next video.